All right. So, welcome to the third episode of the Exploitation B movie discussion episode for spin-off last movie Outpost live stream, I guess you could call it. Although we're
Of
not
the
live.
outpost frequencies.
Outpost frequency. I'm sorry. We're not live this time, but that's okay because there was nobody ever in the comments interacting with us live.
Thank
So,
goodness.
today, not George Lucas is joining me, and we're going to talk about exploitation B movies, surprisingly enough.
It's
And
it is weird because I know you've done these with Yoda, and I know that Yoda. Uh, we use the expression he likes normie films.
very mainstream normie stuff.
Yeah, whereas both me and you have got an inclination towards the more extreme films, and so like I say, as we were talking the other day, it was kind of nice that it was like, oh yeah, I've seen that, that's really good, and so yeah, we both sort of are into the exploit. I didn't kind of figure I was a fan of the exploitation because I didn't really know what it was, but it turns out I am a big fan.
Yeah. Well, most people, I think, enjoy. Some people, I think, they refer to them as their guilty pleasure, which is a. I hate that term. I never feel if I enjoy a film, I don't feel guilty about it. It's either, as I've said before, I either it either entertains me or it bores me, and I
Yeah,
don't
but
and
then
I don't
conversely, is it a guilty pleasure if it's like a romantic comedy?
know because I would have to enjoy watching it for it to be. You know, for it to, I've
So
never been like, oh, I love that, but I'm afraid to tell my friends about it. Nah, I don't have any. There's
there's
no such
got to
thing.
be one film out there. I'm going to find that.
I don't.
Over the next few months, I'm going to get that out of you.
Bridges of Madison County.
The Battle of Endor is actually your
Yeah.
favourite.
So we were talking last week, and we didn't record it, unfortunately. But we were talking about exploitation movies, B movies, and what makes them good. And I submitted that even though they're made very cheap and quick, and they're to exploit something going on in the news or something that's happened, or just exploit things that the base human violence. A lot of times they end up, even if by accident, making something really good. It maybe even art in some cases, or approaches it. And that's to me, that's what makes them interesting. Is that oftentimes they appeal to me on I like sex and violence and gore, but oftentimes they sometimes they hit more than that. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. There are times when, like you say, somebody's making a film out of whatever reason that they're doing it for. And I mean, it was interesting. I think your conversation with Josh, something that really came across to me is how some people consider themselves filmmakers, but they are just churning out content. They're
Mm,
not. It's not a passion. And for me, I mean, the big one that's always speaks out to me is Ed Wood, because Edward D. Wood Jr. He was a passionate man who wanted to make great pieces of artwork, but he had no budget and no skill and no talent or anything else, but he still had that passion. But then when he tried that hard, he actually made a great film. Plan 9 from Outer Space is still, it's a wonderful piece of entertainment because of how unbelievably bad it was. But he was trying his hardest to make something as best he could, as opposed to people. I mean, it's like with the whole TikTok generation, they are just churning out stuff because it's, oh, I haven't uploaded anything for the last 4 hours, so I need to upload something quick. And there's no passion behind it. They're just doing it because they have to do it.
yeah, and there's definitely a difference. So there's the oh, let's make the so bad it's good film, and when you try to do that, you just make something that's dog shit to the point that it's unwatchable. But then there's stuff that I think is exploitation, but it really hits something, or so, trying to think of something right off the head. So the Exterminator, I think, is a really good exploitation movie. It's from 1980 or 81, and it's sort of the Punisher before there was a film version of Punisher. Guy comes back from Vietnam with his buddy. They work in New York. His buddy gets attacked gets mugged, and they paralyze him. And so the main character goes on basically a revenge killing spree of dirtbags in the city, and we follow him along, and he does all kinds of stuff. And it's got some really great moments in it. One moment he gets a young prostitute and finds out she's been abused, and so he goes to the place that did it and finds it's like a sex slave place, but for young kids and boys, and he kills and tortures and burns them down, and it's great. And there's some real powerful moments in it, and a lot of people's like, oh, it's a crappy film, but it's really not. And
And it's
one
kind of
interesting, well,
no,
one
go on.
interesting, a little sidebar to that. One interesting thing I read from the director James Glickenhaus years after that. They said, "Have you ever thought about making?" They did make a sequel to it, but he had nothing to do with it. It was garbage. But they asked him, "Would you do a sequel to that?" And he said, "Well, years after it come out, Rambo: First Blood come out," and I thought, "Well, that's the sequel," because at the end of the Exterminator, spoilers, he gets set up by like the CIA and the feds, and he gets shot and he falls into the East River. But you see that he had a bulletproof vest, so he swims to shore, and we assume that he just sort of disappears and goes on with his life. And so Glickenhaus was saying like, oh, this could easily be, the main character. He goes into upstate New York. He's this Vietnam vet that's right. He's not quite all there after all that, and then it turns into. And I thought, man, he's right. And if you ever watch that, if you watch it next, or if it's the first time or the next time, watch it with that in mind, and you'll see and go, man, it really could have been the prequel to First Blood.
Annoyingly, I haven't seen that. I say that I have seen it, but like not for a long time. But I just wanted to touch on the point there that you said that sometimes people try to make crap and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
I've been watching the series Into Darkness, but the second one, which is the first one was hang on a minute. I've had a terrible cough and Sean's still making me do this. um, but Trauma came up and they did like the Tromeo from Juliet and those kind of films.
Yeah, I'm not
I never got with them. I never thought to myself that they were particularly any good. But
I have to agree with you there, and I know that's going to make a lot of people angry, but I'm not really a fan of their stuff.
the problem is like you say, when you try to make ham, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You either are trying to make greatness and it fails, or if not, the only exception to that, and I don't know if you've probably heard of this, but there's a British TV program called Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
That's a terrible title.
No,
I'm not.
no. But funny enough, the terrible title is only sort of part of it, and he made a program for. It was shown. Oh, must have been about 10, 15 years ago, I think I first saw it. And it was originally, the way Garth Marenghi describes it is, it was originally shot in the 1980s, and it was so extreme and so out there that Channel 4 banned it until now.
Oh, wow.
And, no. That is not what happened.
Oh.
The whole program, the whole thing is done tongue in cheek, and he's made this program, which is so bad, it is awful, but he's done it brilliantly. The Garth Marenghi is a character played by a guy called Matthew Holness, who I would love to interview, and I have contacted him to talk about this because it's such a brilliant series. I do recommend it. It's set in a hospital where him and a mate one evening open up a gateway to hell, and it causes all these weird things to go on in Dark Place, which is what the hospital's called. Obviously, you have a hospital called Dark Place. I highly recommend that, just to get that out there. But so with other horror stuff in the part 2 of the, what did I just say? In the Search of Darkness, they've been talking particularly about the Italian movie.
The Giallo and stuff like that.
Yeah, and what's his name? Oh, Dario Argento. And is it? I want to say Fellini, but it's not Fellini, is it? Fulci?
No, Fulci.
Fulci, that's it. Now, I mean, those I am big fans of, and again, they are done brilliantly well. I'm a particular fan of Dario Argento because I think he does make incredible pieces of art.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He's brilliant. I haven't seen it for a very long time, but I do remember, not Inferno, it was the other one, Suspiria, where I'm sure the scene, the girl is underwater for like 10.
No,
go on.
No, I think you might be thinking of Inferno, where she's underwater and she finds that necklace thing, and then the dead body floats.
That's how long it is been since I've seen it. But I remember kind of holding my breath for like 10 minutes while she's under there. It's brilliantly done, but he has such a brilliant style. And then that Feluccio made. Only recently saw Demons,
Oh yeah, have you?
which again I was very surprised at how well that was made.
Great movie,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean the whole helicopter in the cinema at the end was pretty spectacular.
Yeah. That is a very underrated well, I mean, I guess if we were talking to Yoda, it would be an underrated classic, but for people that watch these kind of movies, it's not underappreciated at
Yeah.
all. Uh, yeah, it's got some good stuff in it. That's the thing. The Italian movies too are. I think even one of the stars of that was when she's talking about it, she said there's a lot of like Italian culture in it that sometimes people don't understand it from other countries, but then they're like, oh, you know, if you're Italian, you get it. Uh, I don't know. I kind of like the surreal aspect of something in it that seems to not make sense to you just because of cultural differences. But you know, I think it gives those Italian movies a really neat, you know, ambiance that you some of it kind of seems like it doesn't make sense,
In
but it's okay.
in the documentary, they were saying how they took American movies and then kind of turned them up to 11. You know that
Yeah,
Hollywood, well, say Hollywood. I mean, you know, the video market was trying to churn out these video nasties, but Italian sort of went, that's not gory enough. Let's do something else. There was a scene, again, I can't
yeah,
remember which film it was from, but they stabbed a guy through the mouth, and you saw the blade up through by his tongue and stuff. And I kept thinking, how the hell did they do that? And
yeah,
it's brilliant pieces of work in the way that it's done. Because you are thinking, like I say, you know, people like us, movie buffs, and you're thinking, oh yeah, I know they did that, I know they did that, and then sometimes you're going, nope, don't know how they did that, must have killed someone.
yeah. I think you know the Zombie or Zombie Two, aka the Italian sequel to Romero's Dawn of the
Right.
Dead, has got some really good stuff in it. But that you know that's a pure exploitation movie. Arguably, you could say so. Romero's movie. Have you? How long has it been since you've seen it?
Hang on, which one? The original.
Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, the '78
Oh,
one.
no, I did watch that last year.
Okay, so I that borders on like a mainstream movie almost. Like nowadays, that would probably be closer to a mainstream horror movie, I think. But back then, I guess I'm not really sure. But I think it goes beyond just you know your typical zombie movie cash
Yeah.
grab, right? Would
Oh
you
yeah,
agree with
totally.
that? Yeah,
There
it's
is
got
a
a lot.
heart in it.
Yeah, yeah, he's really trying to say something. Not something I may or may not agree with, but he's really trying. So the Italian sequel Zombie has I have no idea what it's trying to say other than you know gore and crazy over the top kills and a woman slowly having her head pulled into a giant wooden spike that we see go through her eyeball and puncture it in loving detail. We're spared no, you know, we're spared nothing of that. Very famous scene, and of course the ends with a zombie and a shark fighting. I mean, it's that if that's not an exploitation movie, I don't know what is.
The
You know,
start of the Sharknado films, hooray! Um, which
yeah, that's probably what spurred that. You know,
I've never seen any of the Sharknado films. I'm pleased to say.
I
Um,
haven't. Yeah, I have.
it's kind of one of those things that I will probably get around to it one day, but I'm just not in a hurry. I can't.
I tell you, you know, sci-fi makes some real crap
Mm.
like that, and I mean real crap. But a few years ago, they came up with a little series, and it was called Grindhouse Blood Drive, and
You
it was
mentioned it the other
actually
day, didn't you?
yeah, and it's really good, man. Like they captured the feel. Uh, it's a little bit, you know, what's the term? Not really meta, but very self-aware, which ordinarily I'm not that crazy about, but they did it pretty well. And it's like 7 episodes, I think, maybe a
How
little
long ago
more,
was that?
but oh, it's been 4 or 5 years ago
No.
now,
Because
probably.
I'll keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, they unfortunately did not renew it for another season, but it's self-contained enough to where you can watch it and enjoy it. I really highly recommend it too. It's about I think it was hour
All
episodes
right.
each, maybe 2 hours, but it's pretty good.
See, funnily again, I'm going to go down the British route here of stuff that you've never heard of because, funny enough, I've just seen on Twitter on Wednesday nights there's a new series called Inside Number Nine. Now these guys, I may have mentioned to you before the League of Gentlemen, which is not the Extraordinary League of Gentlemen, which was the terrible, terrible film with Sean Connery. The League of Gentlemen were just
Mm.
a group of horror fanatics, but who created this dark comedy. And League of Gentlemen is brilliant. There's a whole town called Royston Vasey, and it's full of these wonderfully bizarre characters. And I think I said one of them is a butcher, and he never says it, but you're pretty sure that his sausages are made of human meat. And basically everybody's kind of like, I need some more of your sausages, and he's like, oh, I haven't got any, I haven't got any of the special stuff, and the way it's done is brilliant, and the comedy is incredibly dark. But they've just done a whole, they've got a new series. It's series 7 called Inside Number 9, which is a series of portmanteaus. They're not connected in any way. The only connection is they are always set in somewhere called Number 9, like Classroom Number 9 and that kind of thing. And last week's, I really want to say what it was about, but if I do, it really spoils it. But again, they're brilliantly clever pieces of work, which I have. There are stories there that have stuck with me far more than anything that I've seen in Hollywood for the last 10 years.
Speaking of foreign, did you finish that series?
It's on my list.
30 Coins.
It's on my list. I
See, we could have been talking about that right now, but because
No,
you,
the problem with it is, don't get me wrong, I'm fine with foreign stuff, but they talk so fast, and I can't read as quickly as I can, and I will finish it because the first episode was brilliant, and I got about to
they
4 or 5 episodes in, so it's only a little bit to finish, but it was a brilliant series. 30 Coins.
yeah, yeah, that is a lot of exploitation B movie elements in that. The opening, the first episode, I think, is pure Lovecraft.
Oh,
Would you agree with
the
that?
whole. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, it was great. And I think the second episode as well, where the baby's growing up and
yeah.
and
Oh yeah, I guess it did. Yeah, because when I watched it come on, they played them back to back on HBO, so I always conflate the two as one. Yeah.
But yeah, well, it's funny when because talking of Lovecraft, because like I say, this came up again in that in Search of Darkness. How I've never read Lovecraft, never read any books, obviously, you know.
Reading, yeah, reading's
Yeah, you know,
gay.
don't want to do that. But I've always got the impression that his stuff was like From Beyond and that kind of thing. And I mean, the only thing I think that's come close to it in modern times is, I don't know if you've seen it, but in the Color of Space with Nick Cage.
Well, he did. Well, that is a
Yeah,
Lovecraft
that's. But what I
story.
mean is to me, that's what I expect from a Lovecraft, is that kind of twisted horror of
Yeah,
just a complete separation of reality.
yeah. I mean, that's pretty much Lovecraft. Is the you're so disconnected from everything that the reality that that it basically drives you mad. I think that one, the Colorado Space movie, great, but it probably goes. It probably it's Lovecraft in his book would not reveal that much. So he would never show you the monster for one thing.
That's the bit that
You
got
know
me.
what I
Is
mean?
the scene that I remember is the mother and the son. Oh
Fused together.
man, it
Yeah.
was just. It was so messed up, and I mean I love Nick Cage anyway. I mean Nick Cage can do no wrong in my book, but him going like full Nick Cage with it and everything else was brilliant. Would you call that an exploitation movie, or would you just sort of say that that is just like a modern?
I would call that. I would just call that a modern B movie. Yeah, I guess yeah, if it played in theaters and stuff. Um, I mean that's the thing. There's sort of a real fuzzy definition nowadays for exploitation because most exploitation that like Josh would agree that is like they played in theaters and it ran for 2 weeks but stuff it's kind of hard to know now. I would call it that, although I think the director certainly had higher goals than cash grab, right? But it's definitely it's a genre piece. That's probably the more accurate way to describe modern versions of this. Uh, Bone Tomahawk, which come up
Yeah,
last week, I think. That would absolutely played nonstop, in the
and it's
grindhouses. It
one of
would have
those
been
films that
considered,
everybody's seen as well.
yeah, and it's pure. By the time the movie's over, you just watched something
It's
that
going to
was,
sit with you for a while.
uh, yeah, and the brilliant part of it is he made a hell of a good movie. It's a good movie by anybody's standards. If they, unless they were just like, oh, I can't, where's my smelling salts? It's a great movie. Even the lead up to, it's hard to talk about it without
I
spoiling. I
think
think,
most,
isn't it?
if you haven't seen Bone Tomahawk, you're a moron. Pause this now, go and watch it,
Yeah,
and then come back. But other than that,
yeah. It's
if you've seen Bone Tomahawk, you know what we're talking about.
yeah. The director of that is, I think he is the man making modern exploitation grindhouse movies. Like he knows how to do it, but he does it with like Denis Villeneuve levels of quality. It's the only way to put it. It really is. Like he's the Denis Villeneuve of making absolute, you know, exploitation, B movie, whatever, ultra violence,
Because that's
ultra
the thing, is
gore.
you didn't expect the ending at all. It was kind of
No,
just a posse out looking for a woman, and they were going to get some Indians, and you kind of thought that they guys were going to turn up and murder all the Indians, because that's what
yeah,
that's
yeah,
in
yeah. The
American
good,
movies, that's kind of always what happens.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. The good guy, the John Wayne character is gonna go in like a hero,
yeah,
and
save the day, and but
yeah,
to me, that's what I absolutely love is. With mainstream Hollywood, I've said this before about James Bond. With a James Bond, you know what you're getting. Action sequence,
yeah,
title sequence, plot exposition, car chase, sex scene, car chase, plot exposition, action sequence, the bad guy's dead and James Bond wins. They are done well. In between some of them, they're quite good, and some of the actions. But ultimately, that's what you're getting. Whereas with what is his name who directs them? Craig? Is it Craig something?
Craig
That's
S.
it.
Zoller.
With his stuff, you're watching it, and then all of a sudden it's just like, whoa, it just blindsides you out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
him and the guy, and I cannot remember Sawyer. I don't know if I can pronounce it right, but the dude that made and directed Green Room
Yes. Oh, yes, yes.
and Hold Back the Dark. He. I would
Blue Ruin.
almost. I would.
He did Blue
Huh?
Ruin as well. Oh,
Oh yeah, Blue Ruin. I would rate him pretty. Those two are pretty well equal.
the only
I
difference
don't
I
know.
find is,
Maybe.
I mean, if you think of the Craig guy, Cell Block 99, just again how unbelievably brutal that was. And for me, Vince Vaughn has always been that kind of happy-go-lucky guy. Yeah, I know him from
Yeah,
Swingers and from Jurassic Park, and it's Vince Vaughn. Yeah, it's Vince Vaughn. I like Vince Vaughn. And then he
yeah,
played this character which was unbelievably brutal.
yeah. And that one is absolutely without doubt an exploitation film. Like that hits everything. You get the slow burn. You get the guy that's not really that heroic. It hits all the buttons. The drug dealer, the guy that's going to mutilate a baby that's still in the womb. You get a prison fights. It's everything. It just, man, he really was like when he made that, and he's like, Bone Tomahawk just wasn't quite extreme enough. And I don't think we were close enough to a 1979 like prison vibe. I don't
Yeah,
even know,
it just
but
yeah, just needs a bit more. Just needs a little bit more.
yeah, let's just take it up a notch. Let's take it up a
I
notch.
do.
Yeah, he's the master of the modern, and he does it, and there's no wink, wink. Oh, we know what we're doing. It's played completely
Yeah.
straight in his movies, which I like. So I love the guys from Astron 7. I loved Father's Day, which is one you should put on the list. But these are comedy exploitation horrors. But that's a great movie, and so they're the same guys that did Psycho Goreman,
Oh, that was
and they did
great.
another.
I love that.
Yeah,
That was great.
they did another one too called The Editor. And if you like the giallo, the Italian stuff, you'll really like it. But they do those, and they really hit the genre. But it's a, I would say it's lovingly teased. They're poking fun
Yeah.
at it.
Whereas, like,
They also did The Void, a
yeah.
great horror. I know some people disagree with me on that, but I think The Void
Oh,
was great. That's a straight up horror.
again, what I loved about that is I didn't know what to expect. I think the synopsis kind of sort of said whatever it was, and I was kind of, all right, okay, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
And it just takes you to a place where you do not expect it to go in any way, shape, or form. It's fantastic.
Yeah. That's another Lovecraft cosmic horror film that you don't know that's because, like you said, the synopsis is like a deadly cult surrounds a man on the run who takes refuge in a hospital with the sheriff or
Yeah,
something very bland sounding, and you think, oh, it's just like the Jonestown Boys or something. You don't expect it. It turns into like a legit, this is,
descent into.
you know,
Oh yeah, it was again. It was one of those. Oh, I was again. I love the fact of going into a movie and just not knowing what you're going to expect. If it's made outside of Hollywood, that's kind of a good thing. I've been harping on about this for a long time, but A24 is another company that I don't think they make exploitation films, but they just make films where you're going to go in and sit down and then sort of afterwards go, right, what the hell was that? What did I just
I,
watch?
I would. I don't think they make exploitation movies either, but they make that sort of modern aesthetic genre of you know what I'm trying to awkwardly say here. They make movies, slightly off like that to hit. They're made for people like
Yeah.
me and you, right? They're not made for Yoda, probably. I mean, I don't, I'm not crapping on his taste here, even though he's,
Well, you can slag him off. He's not here.
but
It's fine.
yeah, well, he's not probably going to, he did not like dash cam at all.
Really,
Before we started
I
the live stream Sunday, he spent like 30 minutes telling me how awful it was, and I was just like, I can't, I don't even know what
to
to
be
say to
fair,
that.
I can understand why some people wouldn't like it. I get the shaky camera work thing. I know I've talked to a few people. I know a few friends who hate that kind of thing, like Blair Witch and stuff like that. But
I didn't think the shaky cam in it was that bad though.
it's still it's difficult to watch. But then so I can, in some respects, understand why some people weren't massive fans of it. But conversely, I think when you watch it, it is so unbelievably well directed because there are times
Yeah.
when, even in the opening sequence where she comes in and
Okay, wait a minute. Let me stop right here and let's go because Yoda will probably want to talk about this maybe, but let's me and you do let's talk about it. It is a straight up exploitation movie in my opinion. It's a genre piece. It's a low budget indie comedy horror. So let's me and you talk about it right now because it fits
okay,
the theme. And okay, so why don't you give sort of a plot synopsis about it, and then we'll go into
oh
it,
no, no, no,
what
you're
we
just
think
checking
about
to
it.
see
So
whether I have watched it or not.
no, no, no. I mean, I can if you
No,
want.
it's fine. Basically, a girl called Annie. She runs. I can't remember the exact wording, but she runs the world's only mobile. Oh, what is it called? Uh,
Band cars, she
yeah, and
calls it.
she.
Like she's a IRL streamer on
Yeah,
YouTube, and she streams from her car while she's doing stuff, and she lives in LA, and we get to see her show us all kinds of California
and so the
behavior,
camera work is
and
not it's not really a dash cam as such, but
right.
it's her
It's like
streaming.
your phone turn. Yeah, it's like your phone turned around, flip side,
But
streaming you
what's
from your
interesting
phone,
is in the
and
bottom
it's not
corners you've got all the comments of her people who are watching and
right.
stuff.
All the YouTube,
Yeah,
the live
yeah.
chat, right? And so so she's also in the movie a bit of an Alex Jones type, and it takes place right as the lockdown and pandemic is going on. Although that's not really a part of the movie, but so she's also Annie in the movie is basically a version of her real life self, which is Annie Hardy, the principal of a band called Giant Drag, who's been around for a long time and they've been on tour and everything. Still make music to this day. So anyway, she flies to London. I think it's
Yeah.
London, isn't it? It's to meet one of her old, I guess, bandmates or somebody she went on tour with. And he is a Uber Eats delivery driver.
Well,
Is
he
that
starts out as one. Whether he finishes as one is.
well? I mean, but that I didn't know. Is that a Uber
Yeah,
Eats
yeah,
a
yeah,
thing
yeah.
in England? So anyway, so she goes over there and she's live streaming this, of course, most of it, and she goes out on some of the runs with him, and she's very abrasive and it's very
She's very
hilarious. But she's
facetious as well.
also
That she carries that microphone
yeah,
around with her, which changes her voice, and then tries to interview people with
yeah,
like
yeah,
really inappropriate questions all the time.
yeah, auto tune.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she almost gets him fired. They get in an argument, and so she's you know, and her practical joker self takes his car and decides to start making deliveries that he would ordinarily make. And she gets talked into via money to pick up very strange woman and take her somewhere. And then this woman is extremely strange, and things go downhill from there. The woman has horror movie kind of weird powers. Things go out of control. Uh, I don't know how really to go on from there about it. Would you know how to?
Things just get weird. And but
Yeah, things get really Lovecraftian, so
yeah,
to
I
speak.
think again, what's
And
interesting
yeah,
about it is I've seen it I think 3 times now, and each time it's difficult to watch what's going on the camera whilst trying to read the stream as well, because the people on the stream are kind of like, this is so fake, that blood's not real, and
yeah,
then at other
show
times it's
shit.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
like, whoa, hang on a minute, what the hell's just happened and stuff, and yeah,
yeah.
again, the direction is unbelievably
It's
complicated.
yeah. Yoda said that the direction was terrible, and he didn't know what was going on, and he didn't understand the point. And I thought it was pretty easy to follow the point. Like we're just
Why are we
catching
friends with him
her.
again?
I don't know. I was like, who are you? I thought I knew you. Yeah, he's like, oh, I hate it. It's found footage. It's not found footage at all. We get to see an ending. It wraps up very decisively, and it's very funny, and it's a lot of fun. And Annie through it reacts. Her reaction, I think her reactions to everything that go on is really that's the to me that's the selling point
Oh
of the
yeah,
movie story, right? It doesn't even matter what she got herself into. It's her reactions to all this crazy terrible
I kind of
stuff and
I
how
kind of
she
wonder. It would be interesting because I mean we have reached out to Rob Savage, the director, because we're hopefully going to get an interview with him. Fingers crossed. He is working on something new at the moment. But with it,
and we do have assurance that Annie is going to do an interview
eh,
with us. We probably would have done it today, but Georgia got
I can't help it.
well, I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying.
Oh, we're going to do it tomorrow, though, aren't we?
Well, she needs a
Hopefully.
little bit of a lead time, so I don't think we can do it tomorrow.
Ugh, right. Okay. Anyway,
Um,
right. Eventually we will get a chat with Annie.
yeah,
Um, but I think with Rob, it'll be interesting to ask him how much direction or how much Annie knew of where the script was going in certain places, because I mean, she seems a natural improvisational
mm.
character. I mean, she's really really good with her music and stuff. It's
Oh yeah.
amazing. And then it would just be interesting to see. Righty, hell, I'm dying of whatever it is here. Hang on a minute. I'm so sorry. All
We
this
can wrap it up a
talking,
little early if you
I'm
think
going
you
to have
need
to
to.
at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, so I saw
Oh,
some. She's on her Instagram. She's been showing some behind the scenes stuff, and silly me that don't really know that much about the technical aspects of making a movie. I'm very surprised by what a giant support cast of non on-screen people that went into it.
yeah.
So it was like it's a bigger and we say this indie movie, but it's going to be released on June 3rd from Bloomhouse or
No,
Blumhouse.
apparently you can get early access on June 1st, apparently, according to Twitter today.
Oh well, anyway, it's wide release, I guess, right?
Ruddy cough. Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
So
And then
June 3rd though is the accepted wide release date,
So at
right?
the moment, everybody else is excited for Obi-Wan, but you're excited for the week after when Dashcam is finally coming out.
I am. I really am. Even though I've watched the screener probably 6 times, I want to see it in the big screen, and I'll probably have to drive it. I doubt my local theater will play them because they have a history of not showing the smaller
Good
Blumhouse
stuff. Yeah.
or so I might have to drive a long way. But I really want to. I'm a big fan of hers anyway, and I want to. I want to. I don't want to just say, I got the screener. Why am I going to?
No,
Why
no,
should I?
it is.
But it's a great.
It's.
Yeah.
Did you ever
It's.
see?
Would
Did
you?
you ever see Rob Savage's other one, Host?
Not yet, but are you going to go try to see Dash Cam in the theater, you think?
No, because I know my local won't have it.
Yeah.
Funny enough, I just looked today, and they're still not even getting everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah, same here. I've been waiting on it, and uh,
I have, annoyingly, just to go completely against all exploitation things, I have just booked up to see Doctor Strange, but that's only to talk about it at the live stream.
Grammer,
I
Grammer
know,
money.
I know. It's because I had a gift card that I needed to use up, so.
Oh well, I guess that's forgivable. I know we know that Yoda will be there with his Doctor Strange cape cosplay on.
I can open up this door myself.
Let me use this to drop the drawers on a young child.
So another exploitation stuff. I asked you to watch Eden Lake, which you haven't got around to. Which
I did not.
I don't know
I'm
whether
sorry.
I'd call it an exploitation, but it's one of those. I mean, we're funny enough. What got us talking about this is I thought that we should do a conversation about the ruddy hell.
Wait a
It's
minute. Wait a minute.
cough.
I'm sorry. So wait a minute.
Oh,
Before
God.
before we continue on to that, I recommend that anybody watch this to go see Dash Cam, and I think George does too. We both are
Yes.
big fans of. Regardless of what Yoda says in the coming weeks when we talk about it on the other show, it's
You
a
know
great.
what
It is.
Yoda's like, so you know what you know. I mean, he's like I say, he's very. And what did he watch the other day? That Saint Stew, was it, with Mel Gibson and whatnot? You know, Father Stew or whatever it was called.
I
Oh, with
don't
Mark
remember
Wahlberg.
that.
Mark Wahlberg.
Oh yeah, did he
Yeah,
watch that?
yeah.
Did he like
So
it?
yeah, so
Ugh.
yeah. You know, if you want to watch something boring and traditional with a happy ending and everything else, listen to Yoda. If you want to watch something exciting and cool, listen to us.
Yeah, we really are the home of where the cool movie news is. Unlike
Exactly.
you, that's why he has us on. He knows how boring he would be if it was just him talking about the stuff he wants to talk about, right?
Like when he wanted to talk about the prequels the other day. I still don't know why he wanted to do that. Um,
So Eden
so,
Lake, back to Eden Lake.
well, I was going to say Eden Lake, but then, I mean, like I say, we had a conversation about, we're going to do a little video about the most controversial movies ever
Oh
made.
yeah, the
So,
top. We George found a top 10 list that is not our pick for the most uh controversial. Maybe we can do a part two of that where we give what we think are the most or what
yeah.
should be the most controversial.
But I mean, you know, there are sort of incredibly controversial movies out there. It's funny because quite often people sort of, you know, when they sort of say you know, I'm into movies and stuff. What's your favourite film? Oh, Serbian film. And then just to see what their reaction is, because I mean, I've had some people who have said, "Oh, I've not seen that," and my brain immediately goes, "Oh, you should. It's really good. Yeah, you'd really
Yeah.
like it.
Oh, it's an
It's
art. It's very
art
artsy.
house. Yeah, it's very art house. But it's quite complicated. But you've really got to keep your eyes on."
Yeah.
Whereas if people know what a Serbian film is, they kind of pick up on the fact that I'm obviously being sarcastic with it.
Mhm.
Um,
Or the Human Centipede. I don't know. The title of the Human Centipede kind of kills any surprise. I mean, you
you
know what
know
you're
what you're going to
getting.
get. Yeah, the poster gives it most of it away as well. See,
Yeah.
I, people say that that's controversial. I don't think
It
it's as
was.
bad as
No, it's not as
the
bad. But
second one is worse. I think.
yeah, the thing about it is, it was so much online hype about it when they first come out. Like now, stuff's come out since then that you're like, oh, it wasn't, what was a big deal. At the time, it generated a lot of talk.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We're so removed from them. Like I try to think of all these in terms of like at the time, right? So
When you think of the 70s, when things like Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out, I mean, that was, like I say, that was horrific because people weren't seeing that kind of thing in mainstream cinema. You know, they were
yeah,
getting the Doctor No's and then you know the James Bonds, which were had a bit of blood and maybe a squib or something,
mm.
but nothing on the level of what some of those early movies used to do.
Yeah. I mean, there's stuff from the '70s and '80s that make Texas Chainsaw Massacre look pretty tame, even. But nobody, most people don't know, like the various cannibal movies. We got to be careful because we're going to talk about these in a follow up anyway. But uh,
I've recently seen Cannibal Ferox, which I think I've seen for the first time, but
is
then
that how it's pronounced? I always heard it and other people say Ferox, but
that was
I
probably
don't know.
stupid American people. Um,
Well, no, it was a Canadian, so that's even worse.
yeah, there you go. I always remember there was another interview and a girl was on live TV and she said, and now we cut back to the Grand Prix. And they sort of said, what? And they said, it's pronounced Grand Prix. But obviously with an X, it looks like Grand Prix.
Yeah, it
And so
does.
Cannibal Ferox, I always thought was spelt with that silent X for some stupid
Well,
reason.
I saw it originally released here. It was called "Make Them Die Slowly," and I didn't even know it had that second name until years later. So I always think of it as "Make Them," but in Europe it was Cannibal Ferox, but here
Make
it
Them
was.
Die Slowly, again, is not exactly a title that, you know, leaves much to the imagination of exactly what's going to be going on.
I think Ferox does that means hell, right? That I do know that is a word for hell.
I'm gonna Google it. I don't know. Faro.
So, yeah.
Survival evolved.
Oh,
Faro is a symbol here.
well, that.
Oh no. Oh no no
Uh,
no! It's apparently it looks. Faro has been a reliable. No, what is that? I think that's like a beer. Hang on a minute.
mm.
Latin
Yeah,
word
so,
meaning wild, ferocious, and cruel. There you go. Faro is the
okay.
Latin word meaning wild, ferocious, and cruel. So it basically means cruel cannibal. Cannibal cruel.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's a
That
pretty accurate title.
again,
That's
that doesn't really leave much to the imagination. I mean, the actual
yeah,
film is. We'll talk about it another day.
yeah. Very. I personally find it to be more over the top than the infamous Cannibal Holocaust, personally. But
See,
it come after Cannibal Holocaust though, so I think most of the
I mean, what Cannibal
people.
Holocaust had going for it is the fact that the director got arrested when he flew back into America because they thought he killed one of his
No,
stars.
Italy. No, it was
Oh, is it
Italy.
Italy?
Yeah, yeah. Like
But
he had
yeah.
to produce them. Yeah. Well,
No,
yeah.
she's
Like
here.
the
She's right here. She hasn't got the
yeah,
pole through her.
yeah.
We took it out. But yeah, so we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about. I mean, like I say, this is a list that we found. It is funny because, like I say, that there is a list of top 10, and there's obviously certain movies that come up on there. But then there are certain films which I think should be on the list. And
Mm.
like I say, for me, one of them is Eden Lake. It's funny how if I was talking to somebody. I did an article on the last movie Outpost a little while ago about horror and about what actually makes you feel scared and horrified and that kind of thing. And I said that um, a Serbian film and Eden Lake, I would rather watch Serbian film again than I would Eden Lake because Eden Lake to me it was it was far too realistic.
Mm.
But I think it's because it was set in the UK and it was set in like woods that I know and council estates that I know and that kind of thing. That's probably why it hit home a bit harder to me. But it was just the ending for me was just yeah. Um,
Yeah. Oh,
you got to watch it. You got to watch it.
yeah.
We're going to talk about it.
I'm gonna try to watch it tonight.
And then there's other stuff like again which we mentioned. I mean, again, the one that really sticks out to me, and it's funny, like you say, that with some movies, how they sit with you. And again, we talked about this, and I think we're going to talk about this further. Is like Martyrs, the French movie.
Mm. Oh yeah.
That is
We got a
something.
lot to say about that. I almost regret we have to save it for the next one.
No, 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 no. Let's do that because again, this is why I
Okay.
think it's interesting to break it down into sort of smaller chunks.
I
That
agree. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
So at the end of the to make a long story short, these two girls are caught by these people, and they want to torture them to this point
of
that
close to
legend,
death.
yeah, close to death, to basically induce a state of like,
I thought we were not
uh,
going to talk about it.
oh, you just said go ahead.
Oh no, 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 no. I meant it's in. No, go ahead. Talk about something else. No, sorry, no, no, no. We'll
Oh,
save Martyrs.
oh, okay, okay,
So, what
yeah,
would
yeah.
you say was the last exploitation movie that you've seen in the cinema?
The last one that I seen in the cinema was either Upgrade or the Death Wish remake. Which one of them come out last? Whichever one of those two
I think probably
came.
the Upgrade because Upgrade was a great film.
Great movie, yeah. Yeah.
It was great. I did feel that the ending was a little weak.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know
Hmm.
why. I just felt
You
it
didn't find that? Did you find it predictable? The
a,
ending? Did you
a
predict?
little bit. Yeah.
No, I
Um,
did not.
um,
I don't know. It really, the fact that he just goes into his own world and then the bad guy basically wins. I think I did not see that coming. I should have because the rest of the tone of the movie is,
yeah.
you know, is
Again,
not
that's what's kind of
bleak.
nice is the fact that it's like with Disney, and I mean, everybody's going on about Obi-Wan at the moment and everything else, and he's going to be fighting Darth Vader, and it's like kind of, really, how do you think that's going to work out? Because we
Yeah,
know that they face each other in the next movie, so why is it a threat? It's a nothing,
yeah. You know he's not going to kill him.
and so it is nice then going into a film and not having any knowing what's going on. Like I say, yeah, Upgrade. I remember just sort of at the end thinking, oh, the actual
But
action
did you?
was
But did you like the movie though?
yeah, overall, but it's not the kind of film I'd revisit.
Really?
No.
Hmm.
Well, I suppose
I've
maybe.
watched. I bought it on Blu-ray. I liked it so much. So
But then, funny enough, you were talking to who was the guy you were talking to last week?
Max.
Max. You mentioned, is it VRF?
Oh, VFW.
VFW, sorry. Now I saw that, and again, I didn't make much of it.
Well, yeah, I mean it's that falls in that would fall into the legit like grindhouse action movie, you know. Um, that one I think is certainly more for like or the real. Oh, I want the distilled version of these things. You know what I mean? Like I it. So you watch Friday the 13th. Every movie you know what you're going to get, right?
Mm,
Like what beats are going to get hit.
yeah.
So that movie is made for the kind of people that's a certain kind of film that absolutely is made for other. That's meant to be just like other films, like it more or less. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like what's going to happen. You know how the thing's going to play out more or less. You almost can know. I mean, who's going to live and who's not, even at the
Yeah.
start of the movie, and that's fine because it's that kind of movie. It's like a Friday the 13th movie. Jason's going to show up and start whacking teenagers and whatever. So it's very much like that kind of movie. It's very inspired by like Assault on Precinct 13 and those kind of movies.
See, I, I know I've seen Assault on Precinct 13, but I can't
Well,
really
there's a
remember it.
remake of it from the early 2000s. It's trash, but the
With
original one is
Ethan, was it Ethan
Ethan Hawke.
Hawke?
Yeah,
That's right, yeah.
yeah, that's
But the
garbage. The
original, because the
original one is
original's
great.
John Carpenter, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
great movie.
I haven't seen it in many years, and again, I need to kind of revisit it. And I think sometimes if you go into a film and you're not, uh, a stupid example of this is like Batman. I didn't know what the tone of Batman was going to be, and if I was more prepared, I probably would have enjoyed it more. But I didn't find anything about it worth another visit.
I didn't make it 20 minutes into that movie before I turned it off. That's no joke. It come on HBO a week after it premiered on Max, and I thought, well, I'll see what. Even though you guys both, I wasn't excited about it to start with because of you guys' review, and then I was like, yeah, it's enough of this. And I don't care about superhero movies anymore.
Yeah,
Um,
like I say, going to see Strange, I am very much, you know,
Speaking of superhero movies, though, and I recently reviewed it, and I know a couple of guys on the website watched it on my review. The original 1989 Punisher movie, Dolph Lundgren, is a straight up exploitation action movie.
yeah,
That
yeah. I got that. I watched that last year on your recommendation. We
and
spoke about it ages ago, and again, yeah, that's the Dolph Lundgren one.
yeah, a lot of fun, a lot of
Yeah,
action and shooting and everything. It's great, man. I think it's the best of all the on-screen Punishers, in my opinion. Now, it's not high art like the Netflix series attempted to achieve some. They're crap. But that, is what like if you read The Punisher from the 80s and you're like, "Oh, I want to see that in a movie." You get it. That's what it gives you.
that's. I think sometimes that's kind of half the problem. It's kind of like I say, I've never read through any of the comic books or anything, so I don't know. I don't know anything about them. And so when I know, again, this is like a really random one, but everybody was really annoyed at the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. But I really
That
liked.
bothered me. I did too. I like that twist a lot.
I thought, Tony Slattery was he called, and he's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
and whatnot. I thought that was brilliant, and I can, I suppose, like I say, if you're a fan of the comic book, you are going to get peed off. But then if you're not a
Oh
fan of,
no, 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 no. I like I read those comic books, but I still like that twist. I think the here's why I really think people were well, not all the people, but I think a lot of people were upset with it, not because of that reimagine of him, but because the actual main bad guy was a little weak. Like
yeah,
if what's his
Guy Pearce,
Ki, Ki, Guy Pearce's character anyway. If he was a great like I would call him like number two villain as far like if he was the underling of a bigger guy,
yeah.
he'd been great. But there should have been something else. I don't know. He was fine, but I think a lot of people there's like, oh, that twist, but then they didn't quite. The main bad guy didn't live up to what the Mandarin in the comic books would. If you know what I'm saying. So if he'd lived up to
I,
that, they'd
I,
probably been.
but I mean, like I say, it's difficult then writing for people who maybe half your audience have read the comic books, but then half of them hadn't. And so it's kind of like, where do we split the divide so that everybody's then surprised and pleased? Whereas,
Yeah.
you're never going to hit that mark.
Yeah, Marvel, the MCU is so weird. There's so many people that have never touched a comic book as fans of that,
Mm.
so they're not writing for comic book fans anymore. Even though they plunder the best parts of the comic book concept for those movies, they're not really writing that for anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't
they're
think
writing
so.
it for box office seats. They're writing it for the
Yeah, right. They're
demographic
not.
of males aged 15 to 25 and blah blah blah. And that's who he's doing well with.
Yeah.
Right. So before I pass out because of coughing, with exploitation, then, so with some of these other ones, then we're going to, like I say, we're going to have a nice chat about some of the most controversial movies ever made, according to some person's list, and then I think we're going to have an honorary mention for some of the other films that come up. Because, like I say, for
Yeah.
me, I think one of the most controversial movies is Eden Lake, and how people
Yeah.
don't put that on the list, I still don't understand.
Yeah. Well, like I said before we started, Passion of the Christ
Yeah,
is a very controversial movie, and The Exorcist probably could make that list.
because yeah,
I
again,
would
there are
say.
scenes in that which are really
Oh,
uncomfortable
oh,
viewing.
straight up exploit. Yeah, I mean, people that it was such a big movie, and so it won all this stuff. And Freakin is obviously a master director, but dude, I mean, she's fucking herself with
The
a
crucifix,
crucifix. I
yeah.
mean, that's it doesn't get any more exploitive than that, you know.
I can just see the mother reading through the contract, sort of going, yes, I agree with this. Bad language? Okay, yeah, maybe. Crucifixion. And obviously her mum had to, approve it somewhere and whatnot. And,
You know, Linda Blair went on to have a hell of a career in exploitation
oh,
movies
yeah.
after that. Savage Streets. We should talk. Oh yeah, we need to. I need to talk about that at some future point, I guess, if these keep going. But she had she did some good exploitation stuff. Some better than others, but she hit a few out of the park, I think, as far as at that level. You know, we're not talking like, oh, she made Spider-Man, No Way Home or whatever level, but it was like for the kind of movies we're talking about, she made some pretty interesting stuff.
Because again, you're thinking about, sorry, I was just looking through the list of other stuff that we make, like I say, we spoke about it the other day. Because again, another one that comes up, which is a pure exploitation film, is 50 Shades of Grey.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No,
Did you watch that Deadbeat at Dawn? I know I
no,
recommended it
I've
to
got
you
it on my
last year.
watch list, but no, I haven't got around to watching it yet.
Okay. I'd like to talk about I wish you'd seen that. I'd like to have talked about that today, but that's all right. That is one of those that is a pure passion project, and the dude made it himself, and it's great. And look at it and go, when you watch it, I know a lot of people that aren't genre fans will be like, "Oh, this looks like some dude made it himself." Well, he did, but it looks better than that.
Yeah.
But it's this dude. It's incredible what he accomplished. I mean, there's great stuff in it, and it's a great little revenge story. Same with that Massacre Mafia style, which I did a review on the site a couple weeks
That's
ago.
on my watch list as well.
Yeah, that is an exploitation mafia movie, and it's very violent. It's a lot more violent than The Godfather. All three of the Godfathers and Goodfellas put together.
See, I haven't seen The Godfathers or for a long time. I don't remember them being that violent.
They're not really that violent. They just got little
Snippets of.
little little moments of violence, but not it's not sustained violence.
Yeah.
Which is probably what makes them so shocking for
Regular
especially viewers
people.
at the time.
For,
Yeah,
for
it's
the
like,
for
oh,
the Yodas out there.
for the normies.
At least we know he's never going to listen to this. I think we shouldn't say anything and then just sort of see whether he picks up on it or not.
Well, he's not here running it for us, so I doubt he'll watch it.
No.
I don't know if anybody else on the website even watch these. I don't know.
It is weird how some of the stuff I put up my how to make a horror film, and that looking at the website the other day, there was like a 60 odd views, but then the whole thing about the real Hunger Games with the Met Gala or whatever it was had like 200 views, and I'm thinking, I put together a high art, of these videos that
You
I put
did.
together and everything else, and then people are just laughing at Kim Kardashian with her large ass. And it's just you can't
I
please all
know.
these people, and whatnot. It's terrible.
It's disappointing, I know, but that's all right.
Right. It.
So we've hit an hour here. Do you want to
I'm.
give a teaser for our top 10, maybe like name the
I mean,
what
ones that certainly come up that we are going to talk about are necromantic. No,
yes.
I'll tell you what. If I read them out, you give a short preview of what it is. So,
Okay.
necromantic.
Dude and his girlfriend are obsessed with having sex with dead bodies and they make it happen.
And it doesn't hold back. We're going to talk
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say we're going to talk about Cannibal Feroz and Cannibal Holocaust.
We already mentioned those earlier.
I Spit on Your Grave, the original.
Woman gets raped by seems like 40 million times and then sets out on revenge and castration.
The Human Centipede.
Oh,
What is that about?
crazy dude takes a Japanese guy and sews a girl's mouth to his butthole, and then sews another girl to that girl's mouth's butthole, and then forces them to feed. It defies short. I
um,
don't know.
I did watch this week because I put it on the list. Hendry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Oh yeah, guy. Oh, it's a character study of a
Serial
serial
killer,
killer, and
yeah,
it's
pretty much.
pretty, very realistic, gritty, great exploitation movie. Will stick with you for forever if you've never seen it
Yeah,
before.
that's what I found. Funny enough, I watched it many, many years ago. I had a copy on VHS, and I didn't really recall it. But watching it this time, I was very, yeah,
Yeah,
even the stuff I've seen, it was pretty heavy.
yeah,
And then we've got a couple of others. Like I say, we might mention Martyrs, and we will mention things like a Serbian film, which we'll talk about,
yeah.
and maybe something like
Great comedy.
not as funny as the book. Um,
Not as funny as Schindler's List, but pretty close.
and then maybe something like Sallow, 120 Days in Sodom.
Yeah,
Because again,
that,
that's
that
quite a.
that feel that feel good movie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, if your life is pretty bad and everything else, watch that because it'll be. I think it was.
It'll put you over the edge.
No. It was what's his name? John Cleese, I think it was in Faulty Towers, where he was talking and he says, "Oh, there's always somebody worse off than yourself." And Basil goes, "Oh, I'd like to meet him. I could do with a laugh." So yeah, and there's a couple of others that came up. Taxi Driver. These are sort
Yeah.
of not controversial as such, but American History X, but Natural Born Killers, Faces of Death. Now that is kind of in the realm of most controversial. Pink Flamingos.
Uh, I,
It's a good film, but the recipe book for it, not impressed. I was
a movie about culinary pleasures.
pleasures is a strong word.
A drag queen eats dog shit, and not even fake dog shit.
It's
Does it in real life?
it
So
was it again. It's one of those things that I've never seen anything like that, and again,
right.
that's one of those scenes that just sticks with me. Is now one that I mentioned last week that I don't think you'd heard of or seen is Gummo.
Yeah, I don't think so, unless I saw it under a different title or something like that.
I'm sure it's got an early Chloe Savini in it. Um, it's kind of
The brown bunny.
the same girl, yeah. I see. I feel bad because I feel it's been filmed in your neck of the woods.
It may have been.
Hang on, let me double check on that because I feel bad saying it because it's kind of like that's
That's
what.
okay.
If you've seen the film, you kind of know.
It's okay. I know you're a bigoted person with bigoted views of other countries and their people.
um, Ohio Town.
Oh, where's that at? In Ohio?
Oh, sorry, no,
I'm not from.
no. Sorry, it says a tornado-stricken Ohio town, so it's just a town in Ohio.
That is a Yankee state. I do not live in Yankee land. I take great offense at that you would think that that's my neck of the woods.
Well, I would be interested to see you see it to see what you think of it because
Yeah.
it's in the same respects that there are certain films that come out like British movies and people think, oh, that's what it must be like in Britain, and it's kind of no, it's not like that. That's just a movie, and to me, I think Gummo is what some parts of America must actually be like. I don't
I
know.
don't know. I'll
I
watch
don't know
it
if
this
I don't know
year.
if I want you to watch it now because you might hunt me down and shoot me.
Uh, Tucker and Dale versus Evil is closer to what you would expect me. You know what? Speaking of exploitation British movies, Harry Brown there with
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine from a few years ago, where he's that retired, SAS guy that goes on a death wish like killing spree of the local Utes.
Isn't
That's
that?
a pretty good one.
Hang on a minute. Isn't that a remake though?
It might be.
I'm just looking it up now because it rings a bell. But I'm sure it
It's
was a.
about 10. It's like 10 years old by now.
I'm sure it's a remake of a movie that he did earlier though.
No, you're thinking of. I know what you're thinking of. I don't think.
Alfie.
No, not
Oh,
Alfie.
Harry Brown is what you're thinking of.
Alfie.
No. What I mean is
Yeah, there
that,
was a remake of
yeah,
Alfie.
that's what I'm talking about. It's not. I know they're not.
No. Harry Brown has got Michael Caine in it. I don't think he would remake a movie that he was in himself, playing the same character.
Oh no. Oh no, hang on, because he's played a few Harrys.
He's a retired, SAS guy, and his best friend gets killed by some local thugs, and he goes out to take revenge. He gets a gun from one of those guys that
I've
talks
not
like,
seen that. That's going on my
yeah,
list. I've not
pretty
seen
good.
that.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I like it.
Hmm. Right.
You should
Okay.
check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
I
No.
mean
No.
it's
It's gone on the list.
it's like Death Wish and merry old England,
You do
and he
like
goes around
you do
going.
like your
He
revenge
goes.
stories, don't you?
Well, yeah. I mean, who? How many times have you wanted to take revenge and been like, oh man, if I could only.
I'm English. Never. We just have a cup of tea and we move on.
Well, I never let anything go, so I guess yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's wrap this up. Like I say, we are going to talk about the most controversial movies in the next
Yeah.
week or so. But this has been part 3, I think it is, of Sean's.
This is part 3, yeah, of exploitation B movie discussion, and there's a part 1 and 2, believe it or not. Uh,
So look it up and leave comments
yeah,
if you want to do the like and subscribe thing, which I hate saying because it feels
yeah,
like begging. But I mean, if there are any movies that you think we should talk about or
yeah.
check out, leave them in the
Comment,
comments.
yeah, and we'll do
Please,
this
we're
again.
very needy. Um,
We run out of ideals after next week,
oh
so
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we
and,
need all the help we can get. Anything. Okay, Sean, thank you for inviting me on.
oh my, thanks for being on.
Seems I'm doing all the work here.
Yeah, thanks for letting me not have to do anything.
Right, we'll see you all at the lastmovieoutpost.com.